Let's go. Episode 91.
He just hyped up his episode kicking off abilities moments before I press the start record button, and that's what he gave you guys. Just so you know.
That felt a little bit like I don't know. That did feel like a meme when it came out. But we're coming fresh off of the not Justin Hack episode. Man, that dude's name is just on my mouth lately. I feel like I'm the one of one hack defense squad. But no, we're coming off the Tony Roach episode, which was obviously something huge for us. It was really cool to connect with a player for the first time. Obviously get some insight that was interesting to us. Hopefully it was interesting to some of you guys. If you haven't seen it yet, it is on our YouTube. It's anywhere you can get a podcast. I thought it was really interesting insight into specifically the championship season. So check that out if you haven't already.
I think it's good to talk a little bit about Chicago too. Now I love that we have content to talk about for the episodes. Right. Obviously the off season was tough to truck through, but for better or for worse, I guess, with the two games that we've now seen, we do have things to talk about. And I think a lot of the same feelings, I guess, from week one with everything we talked about in week one. I think this go around, maybe if we hop right into it, the story of the game is probably going to be what was the performance by Alenic. Obviously, 18-year-old kid made his MLS debut and was maybe out of his mind is too far, because there was no assist involved, there was no goal involved. We still tied 1-1 to who were wooden spoon contenders for our predictions, but right. He was impressive, to say the least. Yeah,
no, definitely. I mean, I texted you during the game just watching him and seeing his athletic ability and some of the things that he brought to the team, and I said, dang, Gray might have lost his job. It's going to be a fight for Gray to keep that position. It is his to lose right now. Obviously, when Gray's healthy, he's going to be in there, but just kind of backing up to when you saw the lineups drop and you saw Alenic in that position, did you feel that he was going to have that type of game?
I don't know. I felt so when we look at kind of the signings that were made in the offseason, and obviously there weren't many of them, but it was Alenic, it was Gabe Segal, and it was Kufre. And I think Alenic, probably of him and Kufre, those being the two exciting, and then Segal, I think some people had like NYCFC 2 hopes for him and stuff. But between Kufre and Alenic, I thought Kufre would be a way bigger piece of our team than Alenic, and I'm not sure that I still feel the same way after seeing both them perform. I think week one we were like super high on Kufre, and I think he looked all right in the second game against Chicago. Maybe not as good as the first game, and that could just be because we were excited to see a new player play in the jersey the first game. But I feel like Alenic showed me like what an actual like great debut is, and I maybe don't feel as excited about Kufre in the way that I did about Alenic.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we make those signings, you kind of want it. You want to play your new toys, right? Mm-hmm. You want to see both of them together, playing together, because obviously somebody in NYCFC had that idea that they needed these two fullbacks, right? So you want to see them play together, and I think a lot of times when we talk about players' performances, we kind of fail to mention that there is a possibility of an opponent being good and that being the reason that somebody else may not have shined so well. Mm-hmm. I think that Chicago kind of just looked at the tape from last week and figured out a way to play against Kufre, to kind of limit his ability to affect a game like he was going to, versus Nashville, had, a couple chances gone his way. So yeah, I mean, it was a shock, and it was nice to see both of them starting together. I think the most shocking thing was seeing Jason start over Thiago. Mm-hmm. I know that's the first thing that everyone saw when the lineups dropped. What were some of your thoughts about pre-game Jason when the lineups dropped, what you thought he might bring?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised, like you said. I think we were obviously talking about it pre-game, and it wasn't something that I expected. I think we big up Thiago for his performance in Nashville. Obviously, not as much on the wing, but more so at the 9 spot when Cushing made that switch at halftime, and I expected him to do the same this week. But I think Tala has actually looked better overall at the 9. But Thiago, to me, I don't know what could have caused that switch. I'm so confused.
Yeah, I mean, we were trying to figure that out pre-game and kind of, was it a tactical decision? Was it, was it a health thing? What happened? Was it strategic, maybe?
We thought that Cushing might be switching GABI to the left side, putting Jason on right, because maybe he was unsure of the defensive ability that Elenic had and wanted to have something in place from the get-go to lean on Jason, who obviously has played the right back, has shown that he's able to play more defensively, probably than he is attackingly, but that just wasn't the case.
Right.
It was just a like-for-like switch with Thiago.
Right, and it was one of the things that we talked about in the preseason, that was a possibility to do tactically, was put GABI on the left and put Jason on the right and have direct balls coming in, and we saw none of that. So we ended up seeing Jason on the left and GABI play on the right. Luckily, GABI ends up getting the goal from the right anyway, so it was a good call, but it was a little weird, and I wouldn't say that Jason had a bad game, but he really didn't have an impact.
Well, it's also funny when we think about like wing play and wing back play and playing in the direct balls and everything, and the two biggest signings with the best outlook were Kufre and Elenic that we brought in. So you think that would sort of be the story of the tactics that Cushing wants to play, but then you unfortunately don't have somebody like a target man striker on the roster anymore, right? And we've seen in a few cases now when we look at Nashville, obviously Thiago got that ball in the box and overran it, and then Matty did an identical thing this week. I couldn't believe it. It literally was like watching the same clip, but a different player subbed in for Thiago. And then you have Chanot, obviously, on the insane header. I mean, you have to try to miss those headers on that corner. And I think there was another one or two times where Tales played a ball in and Thiago is rushing in to the box, and you have to cherry pick those goals. And we shipped our cherry picker out, and now we've got nobody. And it seems like it makes it hurt more that Heber's like not on the roster, especially seeing him a goal in a game or a goal in each game for Seattle. It's like, how do you let the only 9 on your roster go? Especially if you're committing to that direct ball play.
Yeah, well, it does feel weird when you let somebody go and you don't at least try to replace them with somebody top drawer, which makes you almost think that it's still possible.
Yeah.
But with the whole Heber conversation that's happened all week, I'm firmly in the camp of we never gave him the service he deserved anyways. We were, as a team, we were never able to give that to him with better players.
Yeah.
So I'm not in the camp that we would be able to provide the services he's getting at Sounders. We just can't. We couldn't.
It's a different style.
It's a completely different style. He's fitting in well there. I haven't watched any of the games for the Sounders, so they very well could be completely committing to Heber and trying to feed a target man type striker.
Yeah. Which
they have the coaching staff to do that. They have the players around him to do that. We just don't. He would not have scored yet, I don't think.
Yeah.
For us. Just plain and simple. I don't think he would have.
And I think that opens up the conversation about Tales, and I mentioned it a little bit. I think you kind of brought me around to him. I honestly was not very happy with his performance at the 9, but then I watched the game back. Apple TV is fire because you hit the 2x
it's
speed.
Really nice, yeah.
All the replays are right there, everything like that. Obviously watching the highlight clips as well and sort of, in the film room. And I think he looked a lot better than if you just watch the broadcast and you kind of move on with your life.
Right.
Than the kind of what you would think you saw from him.
Yeah, no, definitely, because you saw him finally, having time on the ball, doing what we all want him to do, which was get the ball, bring it upfield, play it to somebody else, and get the play moving. That's what we want Tales to do. That's what he's going to be very deadly for us doing, is that exact thing. So we actually got to see him do that. We saw him finally sprinting after the ball to press, which I don't know if in that first game he had a knock and he couldn't do it or whatever.
Yeah.
But we finally saw that. I thought overall, if you're not scoring, you have to have a game like that where you're being effective and you're affecting the play in some way.
Yeah, and I think for me what stood out was there was a few moments where he played not quite like a Ben Sweat-esque ball, but there were 2 or 3 balls where he played on, it was either Thiago or it was GP on a sprint into the box and gave them their one-on-one opportunities to do something with it, and unfortunately neither of them did.
That huge chance to Thiago where, had he trusted in himself and played it on his dominant foot, he's probably either scoring or forcing a really good save.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in a perfect world, Thales should have left that game with at least 1 assist.
Exactly.
And I think the same actually for Matty, who early in the game, I think Jason kind of gave himself a bad rep by missing that shot, although it was off the post. But that ball came in from Matty, and that was maybe like the really the only highlight, I guess, that we've seen from Matty so far. Kind of sucks being a big Matty supporter because I think he is, in a way, not making the most of the few performances or the few shifts that he most likely has left now, especially with Santi back.
That's probably the last one.
Yeah.
That's not a sub-performance.
I was going to say, like...
Which is hard on him. That's super hard to tell somebody, you've got 2 shots at this.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? Maybe Nick starts him versus Miami as kind of like I think he'll get minutes for sure.
Yeah, and then I think this is our first time talking since Santi's returned as well.
Yep. Oh yeah, we haven't talked about the signing at all.
Yeah, just obviously a absolutely massive signing. I think the only question mark that came with it, we obviously talked about it as soon as it was announced. NYCFC was doing their counting up to number 10 or whatever to roll it out and try to hype it up, in whatever position it was or whatever number it was. They mentioned that he was going to be a DP.
The 9th.
The 9th, yeah. I guess our 9th DP for NYCFC. Can you? Yeah. I can't name the other 8. There's no chance I could name
Medina.
The other 8.
The best one.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Yeah. Maybe
Thiago Martins.
I was gonna say maybe we haven't had many DPs if Medina is the best one, or many DPs that have panned out.
Thiago Martins is a DP. Medina was a DP.
Santi, 9.
Santi is now the 9th. Yeah, so that's a third of them.
Yes.
That's not a third. That is a third.
That is a third.
Yeah, it's a third.
And then, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to even pretend to know that whenever we were watching NYCFC back in 2015.
Matriza was one.
He was. It was just vibes back then. And then I don't know how they count. Like, I believe Thales sort of is a U22 initiative
was
DP.
One, or was he just like our first signing?
I don't know.
So he didn't count as one or something.
I don't know. But I think there's young DPs as well. And I think Thales...
Pirlo had to be one. Lampard had to be one.
Yeah. So... When you put Asante in names like that, and I think less so names like that, right? Because Pirlo was obviously nothing special for NYCFC anyways, and Lampard wasn't either. But when you look at the other
Lampard
DPs,
is pretty good, but we'll go on.
when you think about the other DPs around the league, though, right? I start comparing him to some of those names. I think of like a Zelarayan. I'm not sure if Mukhtar is a DP, but I don't know how he possibly couldn't be if he isn't.
I think they brought him back as one.
I get worried. I do know he obviously, I think he was like 3rd in the league last year with assists. He had 14 of them. Obviously, there was a much more prolific striker that is able to help him make those tallies, at least for the first half of the season. But it worries me a little bit. When you invest in things, it worries me that things might not pay off.
My thing is, like Nick said, he had pretty much just hopped off a plane, nonstop promotional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, especially with how empty the team looked without SANDS. I didn't know or think or believe that SANDS would have that much of an impact that quickly. I'd like to amend maybe what I said preseason with the ceiling comment with Hack and SANDS. I didn't know that I'd be judging them in the same team. I want to, when I was thinking of James SANDS, he's playing somewhere else in my brain at that point. So I didn't think, seeing them side by side, I think it's unfair to Hack in this moment, to compare the two. Mm-hmm. I think it's super unfair, but a lot of people are trying to do it.
I was going to say some people probably felt that you were going to eat your words. They just didn't know they were going to get to enjoy you eating your words so quickly.
Yeah.
It's like... Cushing is obviously mentioned in a number of press conferences that he pays attention to the media. So I don't know if he was like, oh, let's just throw this guy right under the bus, bring Sands back.
Touche. But, there was clearly a hole that Sands left in that team. And, Cushing mentioned that they changed everything for Santi, which I think kind of scrambled everything.
Yeah, it's weird to do that.
Yeah.
We were talking about bringing in this one guy who's jet lagged. Obviously, he's coming back to the system, but I would have to imagine that some things have changed with Cushing in his first proper preseason as the head guy. So to displace 10 players for one that's going to play 40 minutes, just to me,
that's a terrible decision.
Seems insane. It seems, and it, I don't know if I respect him for coming out and like admitting it, but it just,
for sure. I mean, standing on it, having the nuts to do it, but. At the end of the day, like Nick Cushing, we love you. We're not at all these weirdos that are cushing out, but that's a tough move. When you have a DP signing, you're basically telling us that this person is so talented that they deserve to make more money, have more status, have more importance in the team than anybody else.
And maybe you should be building a system around him, if you consider that fact, right? But
exactly, and so. If they're that talented, they're that valuable, they can hop into a system and use their athletic ability, use their talent to fit in, to make themselves fit in. You don't need to disrupt 10 other people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what we saw. We saw players that were disrupted, especially in the second half. I think the first half was honestly refreshing. We looked really good. The build-up play was crazy. Obviously on that Jason attempt, I think we tweeted it out. That was just insane. It felt like champagne soccer, like the passes that were being made leading up to that. Everybody kind of doing the perfect thing that they needed to in the moment. But it was just the second half. I mean, you can't. I think that would be the tale of it. That obviously everybody just looked kind of uncomfortable. And on top of that, once James Sands came out of the game. And I'll credit it more to James Sands coming out and not Hack coming in.
Yeah, but I think too many people are doing the opposite.
Yeah, things really started to unravel when Sands came out. And I'll say he didn't look absolutely out of this world either when he was playing. There was a few dispossessions. I think
he kept it so tidy.
Yeah, it's just having that extra guy that has it in the defensive toolbox to know that he is going to help out some of our guys in the back is good. But he was obviously, I think, a little jet lagged or a little out of his element too. Obviously rejoining the team, but I think once he was out, things did begin to unravel.
Yeah, that was nowhere near the Hack performance that we saw in Nashville. I'm not going to sit here and say that he had an amazing game, but he didn't have the game that fills the hole that Sands was having that game.
Yep.
The importance that he had. And as a whole, the result to me just felt like a draw. It didn't really feel like, a draw that felt like a loss or a draw that felt like a win. It was just a draw that you could pull some positives from, have some things that you want to fix up, and keep it moving, keep it pushing.
Yeah, I was going to say it felt like a draw that felt like a loss to me, but only because I had many units worth of my regular bet size
on draw no bet though.
On draw no bet, so I did get my money back.
Same.
Yeah. Oh, you did tail.
I did too,
but
I didn't say because I didn't want to fade you.
Yeah. So I did get the money back. We got the money back, but it was for 80 minutes or 70 minutes whenever they scored. It felt tough. I felt like I had cheated Vegas, or I had cheated FanDuel a little bit. I was like, I talk about them every week. I of course know more than they do.
Honestly, like it's almost like Vegas had a little something for us.
A script?
Yeah, it's like Chanot knocks it down instead of Thiago clearing it, and then it bounces straight to a defender, and then it bounces off of a player into the goal. Barraza had the initial shot covered. Mm-hmm. Come on.
And I think once again, Barraza looked fine. Honestly, more than fine. I mean, I think
he literally saved that goal that would have been a goal prior to the player who was offside scoring.
Yeah, had that first
one gone in, it was 2-1.
Yeah, and I I don't want to dogpile on Sean, but I did see a lot of people saying that Sean had better distribution than Barraza.
You're wrong.
I guess maybe in that game I did see. I think I was checking out the SofaScore thing that you showed me, and it was like he was like 3 for 16 on long balls, which is just not something that you can have happen, especially if we're gonna tout you as.
But if we're talking
the distribution guy,
right? But if somebody is talking about Sean was better at playing out of the back, we're not talking about the long balls.
That's true, and I do think on his short passes, whatever they call it, he was substantially better. It was like 13 for 19. It was still like 76% or something, which isn't perfect, but it's not. I mean, if you're completing a pass 76% of the time, that's not. You're going to start on a team somewhere.
One of the things that disturbed me the most about the game was Chicago having a pretty poor press, and it seemed like it was still affecting us to a degree that isn't NYCFC to me. To me, NYCFC is pretty cool and calm under the press, and it seemed like a pretty poor press was getting to us and causing us to feel disrupted. Yeah. And I think they looked at the tape from Nashville and said that this team loses possession easily, so we can press them and get them out uncomfortable, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I think our defense has been a little rattled, especially not only our defense, but the players up top or in the midfield playing it back to them. I think Matty, he played one ball back, and that was when I'm not going to pretend to remember how to pronounce this guy's name, but
Shiroko.
I honestly,
when I was watching,
it starts with a P.
I was in our living room watching with 3 other Polish people, and they said it perfectly fine.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that should have 100% been canned. I mean, every day of the week that has to go in
for sure.
We were
same with the Chanot goal though.
Yeah,
that's where I'm like, it was a draw.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I think with Chanot too. Like, I want to briefly touch on him because I think we had a lot of conversations with Sean where when you are the captain, you're obviously held to a higher standard, and the things that you do, they also contribute more to the morale of the team. If you're like doing things wrong, or if you're doing things really good too, it can help a lot. Because obviously all the players are looking up to you as a leader, the fans are looking up to you as a leader. And Chanot's had a bit of a tough time with clearing the ball. I think there's 2 goals. You know, we hate to do the it's on one player's head thing,
right?
But if we have to stoop to doing that, in both cases, Chanot cannot be clearing a ball right to somebody that's going to take a shot from 6 yards out in the case of Nashville, or right on the edge of the box in the case of Chicago. So I hope he can kind of shore it up. I'm sure he will. He's obviously the consistency will come. I think it's still week 2. Obviously people start to even tire by the end of the game when it's still week 2. You're still getting into game shape.
Right.
But I hope he'll shore it up. We haven't seen much from Thiago, period. I feel like there's not many things to even say about him.
He's been pretty tidy. There's not really many mistakes. He's been pretty solid as far as I've seen. Yeah,
and then I think it's worth just wrapping up Chicago, maybe briefly touching on Miami. I know you said you were in the film room kind of watching some highlights, watching some replays of the games. Like, what are your thoughts on Miami? Should we be worried that they're going to do something? They just beat Philly.
Yeah, that's the thing is, you look at that first game and they scored off of a set piece. Mm-hmm. and an open goal off of mistakes from defense. So you look at that game and you kind of just call it a scratch because the opponent that day didn't really prove that they were of quality.
Yeah.
They looked sloppy themselves in that game. They looked like they couldn't really string a couple of passes together. But they did have those moments where they showed that they like to shoot from deep if you let them. I don't think SANDS will let them shoot from deep.
Okay.
Personally. But then you look at the game versus Philly, and they scored some really champagne goals.
Yeah.
Like the specifically the one.
Did Joseph score at all in any of these goals?
No.
No. Okay.
The commentator said that he's working himself back from fitness, so of course he'll be ready for us.
Yeah.
He's gonna be ready for us.
Just in time to script for week 3.
But there's specifically the goal. where it was chipped into the left winger, and he controlled it off of his chest and then hit it off the volley into the top right corner. That's just something that, if Chanot and Thiago and SANDS, if we're not being present minded enough to step forward on these guys, they're going to shoot on us, and that could be a concern for Barraza. Obviously seeing that he's a better distributor than he is a shot stopper.
Although he's been
pretty good.
Shots.
He's played much better than we've seen him play shot stopping wise.
Yeah, for not being a shot stopper, he has been stopping some shots.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to call with them because you have this game where they kind of just played good enough against a bad opponent.
Yeah. And
then they show up to an MLS Cup favorite and smash them.
Yep.
They genuinely make the Union look bad. So I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, and it'll be a good. I think it'll be a good game. I feel like either.
Well, we're at home, and that's the thing.
Yeah. I think that alone typically gives us an edge, especially being at Yankee Stadium. We don't like to lose in the Bronx. We don't like to drop points in the Bronx. We are obviously going to be present as well, and NYCFC's record when we're present is very good. Knock on all the wood we can find. But
there's wood under that, I'm sure.
If anybody is also going to be at the game, you may catch us walking around the stadium. Hopefully the weather's not going to be too bad.
We're going to be is it Billy's?
Yeah, we will be at Billy's. We are going to try to participate or at least witness the little pregame march. I think it's like the third rail and Templeados, obviously. You guys probably know better than us because you're all in New York for like every game.
Yeah, so we're going to be there. And
it'll be interesting.
Hope for a good result. We've not really seen bad results there, and we've been to. We're going over the history today. I think I've missed one, and you've never missed one.
No.
I was in another state. I get
not only another state, but like the farthest state. I mean, aside from like.
Yeah, and I don't know if I was of age to make decisions for myself at that point.
The farthest state you could have possibly been in is where you were. So. Nobody can knock you for it.
We'll give me the pass for that. But yeah, we're gonna be at Billy's. We're gonna be at the game. We're gonna be around there, really all day and all night. So, if you're gonna be there, let us know.
And I think one tidbit. I don't like to do. Is it bragging? I don't know if it's bragging, but it's a very cool story. We obviously went to the Brad Sims interviews that you guys have probably seen from all the content creators around NYCFC, and then we also went to the homecoming gala later in the night, which is just like. I don't know, a dinner for them to talk about like their community efforts. Obviously, all like the coaches are present, the players are present. Taylor Twellman was present, all the front office staff was present and stuff. And to me, I think the coolest moment of the night. I'm not the type of guy to like go and approach players and try to do like the small talk thing. Obviously, we just asked like our first press conference questions last week, and that's like the first time that we've done it in 4 years of recording the podcast. So obviously, not the types to approach players. But Hack actually approached me, and he was like, "Hey man, do you do a podcast?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he goes, "Yeah, when I was on loan in Hartford, I remember I used to see you guys on YouTube. Like you would talk about me when I was on loan at Hartford." He's like, "I really appreciate it." And I was like, "Dude, that is crazy." I was like, "I appreciate it." I was like, "You played your ass off in Nashville. Keep grinding and everything." And he kind of just like dabbed me up and walked away. And I immediately, first thing I do is obviously text this guy. I'm like, "You have no idea what just happened." Like probably the coolest thing that has yet happened for the podcast just occurred. And yeah, it was a cool moment. So I guess you never know who is listening to the podcast. It just seems insane. I'm very happy that whenever we did talk about him when he was in Hartford, we obviously said very good things.
Because he was playing really well.
Yeah. So that paid off. Obviously, big shout out to Hack. I think that maybe, I mean, it's not totally up to us because he is with the club, but that would be kind of like a milestone guest to have on the show and have a conversation with.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting.
It's funny because, I mean, we've told this story before, not the Hack story, but this one I'm going to tell.
Yeah.
And it just shows you the progression of, keep going at it and one day somebody's going to know about you.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the day that I had to go get our parking pass validated after we had already been in the car, And I'm walking back to the little ticket station where obviously all the players come out of and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I'm in the parking garage and Gloucester walks past me, and I just like gave him a nod and I was like, "What's up?" And he just literally looked me dead in the eyes and looked down and kept walking. And I was like, "Damn, it's a cold world." Damn.
Yeah, I mean that's what two of many Easter eggs we have. Obviously the Alex Ring DMs is the whole story that, you know, one
Have
day.
we ever told that one?
I don't know if we've ever told it or if we've just teased it, but it's cool to be a part of the community. It was funny. I went and I think I told Trey from Blue Balls right away, and he goes, "That's why you're so lucky that you do a video podcast." He's like, "Nobody knows who I am," and I was like, "Hey, you got to start the video then, man."
Yeah, dude.
But it was funny. It was, you know, definitely a moment that you never forget. Like one of the moments, like when Hey Bear joins the NYCFC group chat. It's like, you know, a cool thing that you'd never really expect. So
Yeah.
appreciate Hack for that moment.
If he's watching,
I doubt
we're
he
gonna
is.
come. We're gonna do a jersey swap with them if we can find them.
I was gonna say he did slip in I haven't seen it in a while, and I was like, oh man. I was like, it was funny.
That means he watched it when he was in Harvard and then never got it.
Yeah. I pulled up the thumbnail from our episode that some of you guys probably saw, where we were talking about Hack's Masterclass, and I was like, dude, we just filmed 45 about how good you were in Nashville, and he was like, oh, that's so cool.
Maybe you watched that one.
Yeah, maybe, but it's a cool moment. Obviously, you guys that do watch and listen, you know, things like that couldn't happen if you didn't. So we really appreciate it. It'll be cool to meet some of you. I think especially some of the media members that we haven't met yet at the home opener. It should be like a great reunion for everybody to touch base while the season is fresh and there's a lot of hope in the air.
Well, you'd like to think there would be.
Yeah.
But, you know, start pulling positives, man.
Yeah.
Life is so much better that way.
Yep. So, episode 91 in the books.
Yeah. We'll see you guys at the game. Definitely come up to us if you see us and know this ugly mug. Definitely come say hi.
Yeah, we can bring some stickers with us, but they're like 2021
yeah, they're
champions.
old and they have Sean on it.
Yeah, they do. And they have Collins and Tati.
Yeah.
There's not one player on that sticker left.
Honestly, you'll find us at in the shop.
Maybe we need a Hack sticker.
You're gonna find us in the team shop.
Maybe we need a Hack sticker.
Honestly, we could.
We should do it, but
can we commission that before the game?
I don't think so. I don't think the turnaround time on the factory is that quick.
Man. No, I won't say that on air. I'll do that off air.
But that's 91. So appreciate you at Post90Pod everywhere. TikTok, YouTube has ads now. Twitter obviously is the spot to go. And we'll catch you guys in New York at the home opener.
Yeah, appreciate you guys coming the extra time with us on these episodes. See you guys next week.